Hello and welcome to Some Dude Shed, the podcast from a shed. Today will be business as usual. We will be telling each other some crazy stories from history. We basically have to work out whether they're true or not.
Just the usual.
Yeah.
The usual.
It's fun. Who's got the best story to start with?
Guess me.
All right.
Mummies were used to manufacture paint.
As in mothers of children? Or?
No, like pyramid mummies.
Used to manufacture paint.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Where, when, and how?
Let's get into it. So, between the 12th and 17th centuries, in and around there,
All right.
a powder called mummia was used.
Mummia, okay.
It was used as a cure-all treatment for any ailment that you could think of. So, used to treat coughs, cuts, and coccidioidomycosis.
What was that last one there?
Coccidioidomycosis.
Right.
A long medical word.
Yes. This powder was also called mummia, which was a fine brown powder, being the groundings of a mummy. So they just stuck it in a blender and grinded it.
Yeah.
Not that they didn't have blenders then, but something like that. Big grinder thing. Maybe.
Mortar and pestle, I believe.
A giant mortar and pestle, just chuck all the mummies in. Mummy brown was a very popular paint color in the 16th and 17th centuries. The mummies provided a rich, warm pigment that painters fell in love with, especially for painting flesh tones.
Well, of course.
Here are the problems. As a paint, it was also slightly unreliable. Every mummy was different, and this drastically affected the quality of each batch of paint produced.
Was this in Egypt these were produced, or?
12th and 17th century.
Yeah, but in Egypt, or?
Well, it must be Egypt. That's where a lot of mummies are.
Yeah, but you can steal the mummies.
Well,
from the graves.
it was produced. The last batch was produced in the 1960s.
That's when? I think where?
Where? Just everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anywhere you can buy it.
Well, there must have been a very limited supply of it because there's not that many mummies, really.
There's probably tons back then.
That's quite a lot. Well, not anymore. They've all been turned into
Paint.
purgatives and paint.
Yeah. You probably got some artists that maybe used the mummy brown paint for
Mummy
Skin
Brown.
tones,
Sorry,
yeah.
that's just so funny.
mummy brown. So the problem is every mummy was different. Not every shade of mummy brown was the same. So many painters got fed up with it and stopped using it. The last batch of mummy brown was produced in the mid 1960s simply because the company ran out of mummies. The director of the company said to Time magazine, "We might have a few odd limbs lying around somewhere, but not enough to make any more paint." True or false?
Okay, so true or false, did they make mummy brown paint?
Did it make paint with mummies?
Right, okay.
Did they use mummia, which was the ground up mummy?
Uh,
It's like using like somebody's ashes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Was it the actual bodies they were using, or was it just the cloth they were wrapping in?
The bodies?
I've heard of the first part before. They actually did use mummies in medicine with no benefit at all.
So they weren't opposed to actually using the bodies for other things?
Yeah,
Okay.
Probably like for spiritual reasons. They were like, ooh.
maybe. Yeah, but it's still ridiculous. Let's just carve up this 3,000-year-old dude and grind him up and drink him or something. I don't know. But actually in paint, I've never heard of that. Also, brown. Brown is not a difficult color to make.
Yeah, you just.
Surely you could make brown out of different things.
Did it not used to be made out of beetles? Or am I just
think
thinking of makeup?
There'll be some colors.
Makeup is still made by beetles today, yeah. For all you ladies out there,
It's so ridiculous.
beetles are also widely used in food colorants too.
Yeah, I know. I remember there was I'd say a scandal. It came out and everyone was talking about it at school. That like Smarties, blue Smarties were made of beetles.
Yeah, and Crusher, Crusher, the milkshake mix that you pour in. That's got that's made with beetles to make the color.
So we're already used to eating the bugs.
Yep, getting there. They're weaning it in slowly but surely.
But that's all right. It's all healthy, all natural.
Well, it's heavily processed.
Well, so is a mummy.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about extreme human jerky here, and I'm not
It's
convinced.
ground up in the mummia.
I'm not convinced it will be used for paint
Why not?
because it's brown. Brown's easy. If it was,
No, but it was slightly transparent whenever you used it as
Oh,
well.
just
I didn't put that in, but
you just use more layers then.
it depends what you mix it with. So like the mummia would go into different paints. So it would be it could be mixed with like an oil, or like you can make it into like a powdery watercolory paint to make different shades and different transparencies.
Mm-hmm.
Because mummy was just the pigment. You know what I mean?
If you're going to make up something, I don't think Egyptian mummies would come into your head. So on that basis, I'm just going to go true.
Just on that basis.
On that basis.
You don't think I'd come up with a
well,
mummy?
since it's batshit insane, so it could either be true or false. So I need to actually think about the person who's telling me the story, and it's just like, no, I don't think you would go for mummies if you were going to make something up.
Why not? They're dead. Nobody's going to get offended.
Egyptians might. I don't know.
It's just
Yeah,
I've never
shit.
heard you talk about like ancient Egypt or anything like that. It's just,
Well,
Oh, so I have to stick to what did I talk about?
well, I talk about the war all the time, so therefore my stories.
I talked about Pringles being flavored on one side because what happened?
Yes, but you eat Pringles. And
Everyone's had Pringles. Oh, I talked about like a Japanese town give out Tamagotchis to stop people having pets.
yes, you like Tamagotchis though.
I don't.
You have
I'm-
a Tamagotchi in college, eh?
Yeah, but that's shit. It always dies.
right. Okay, I'm gonna say false because they did use them for medical purposes, but I can't imagine it being used for paint. It just seems too silly, especially as it comes out brown. It's too valuable for that.
What about the ballet shoe stew of 1822?
Yeah, it was a legend.
Well, yeah.
You tried to play both sides in that one.
So you think it's true?
No, I think it's false.
False?
I think it's true because it's so batshit crazy. It could be true or false. It could be. It could easily be true or false.
Well, it's false.
Oh, well done.
Just joking, it's true.
What?
It's true.
Really?
It's actually true.
They use mummies for paint.
Yeah, up to 19... I don't know if it was exclusively used for paint. Actually, yeah, it must have been, because it was manufactured up to 1960. Mid-1960. And they stopped because they ran out of mummies.
I still stick by my reason.
Now, the thing is, I don't know if it was exclusively Egyptian mummies, like from the pyramids. Because I think if they were in like sarcophaguses and stuff, they'd be quite valued. Because they were like royalty, weren't they?
Well, not all mummies. I think a lot of people were mummified.
Mummified.
Yeah, a lot of people were mummified. It wasn't just royalty.
I was reading too. Apparently, you know, like the stuff they used to make asphalt.
Yeah.
I don't know, like starts with B, but it's basically like this clay stuff that floats on top of the water.
Mm.
But it was in the Dead Sea, and they actually used that for medical purposes too. But that was also used to make like embalm mummies. Just find that out. Anyway,
That's pretty cool. B, bitumen.
What?
it might have been that, yeah.
Yeah.
Beckerman or Bitumen or something.
Right, Henry.
Moving on. Mr. Red, what have you got for us?
In 1923,
Or the war, or whatever.
We're between the wars here.
There's always a war somewhere.
yeah, basically, shortly after Stalin became head of the Communist Party after Lenin's death.
I thought you were going to say where Stalin became the head of the best country ever. Best regime ever. Whee!
I'll just start again. 1923. It's Stalin's a year into his rule over Communist Russia. It's his first birthday since becoming ruler.
All right.
They had a party, and somebody wheeled out a cake, and there was a glamorously clad woman jumped out of the cake.
Lovely. That's
Stalin,
classy.
Stalin, not really being into the jokey kind, or just having fun of any sort of.
Or women.
No, he found it immoral, and he demanded to know whose idea it was. As you can imagine, a lot of hands didn't go up, but eventually somebody squealed, and it was a man by Gregory Malenkov.
Malenkov.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to know Malenkov was at least ended up as his second in command, and he was like because he was the guy that took over from Stalin when he died, sort of.
That's Malenkov.
Oh, Malenkov.
Tov.
Oh, this is a different guy.
It's a different guy.
Oh, right, okay.
Right? Malenkov.
Right.
Not tough. Right?
It's a different guy, you're saying?
It's a different guy.
It sounds
Okay.
very too...
It's possible.
And so basically, he didn't have a good time afterwards. And he was that disgusted. The family had to go to the gulag too.
Really?
Yeah. So, true or false, Stalin can't take a joke.
Okay, so just to summarize.
Stalin can't take some surprise entertainment.
So a pretty lady popped out of a cake.
Wasn't naked or anything, but was glamorously dressed.
Okay. So a pretty lady popped out of a cake, said, surprise.
Yes.
And Stalin didn't like that very much.
Morally disgusted.
So the guy who ordered the cake was sent to a gulag.
Yes.
Right.
I'm going to say false, because I think what really happened was she did jump out of a cake, but he shot her because he thought she was an assassin. I reckon that's probably what actually happened.
This is a different one for me because I want to know: was Stalin known to be quite
A dick. Yes.
Well, I know. Yeah, he was, but was he that strict on like moral codes and things like that? Because I didn't think that was really.
Well, not his own moral code, but everyone else, yes.
Well, there was actually a bizarre moralization, even though communism,
If it's chocolate cake, he hated chocolate cake. That's what it was.
even though they presented themselves as progressive in communist Russia, they did have quite stringent moral standards,
Right.
particularly conservative when it came to flashing the flesh and things like that.
So they were quite conservative in that regard,
Sounds like
Yeah.
today.
in the whole sexy lady sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because that's the bit I don't know about. This is quite an odd one.
You can work in the same factory as other men. You just can't take your clothes off.
Whatever happened to free the nipple? Remember that was the thing? What happened? Where'd that go?
I don't know. I think that kind of died with traditional feminism, didn't it?
Maybe. It was a while ago.
This
Like,
reminds me of the grid girl thing. Feminists were on Good Morning Britain,
I completely like
protest, complaining about the grid girls.
grid girls in motorsport.
Yeah, made them lose their jobs. Actually took jobs away from women
bastards.
who were working of their own accord and doing what they wanted to do. But that wasn't good enough for feminists.
Yeah, now they don't have them.
Now they don't have them.
There's barely any girls on the grid now.
Is it not replaced with kids? No, it's like
They kind of do. I think they do a walkout thing like they do with football matches.
Yeah.
You know, footballers come out with kids for some reason. I don't know. I always found that really weird. Yeah. So did Stalin send someone to a gulag over a stripper and a cake? It wasn't even a stripper, was she? She was just a. Well, I suppose she was.
well, I suppose it was a stripper for the day, but she didn't get naked. It was just glamorously dressed.
Probably didn't have time to. I mean, if Stalin sent the guy to a gulag, I'm gonna guess she was probably in a bit of trouble when she popped out of the cake.
I don't know what happened to her actually after she jumped out of the cake. I assume that Stalin probably, lifted a hand and she was quickly taken away.
And so we don't know what happened to the woman.
No, I don't know what happened to
It's
her.
just all we can be pretty sure is Stalin never saw her again.
I just know a subordinate got a one-way ticket to Gulag with the rest of his family.
And, what I do know about Stalin is he was a total psycho. So I'm gonna say true.
I'm going to say false. Something else happened to the woman.
Well, I can tell you it's false. I completely made that up.
Oh, right. Well done.
Nobody even would have entertained the idea of wheeling out a big cake with a person in it. For
And
Stalin.
I just want to say it's
I can imagine Stalin doing that. He sent people to gulags for literally nothing.
For having a good time. How dare you?
But anyway, my story takes us back to way back to about 530 BC.
So there's no doubt plenty of historical records this definitely happened.
Yes,
Sweet.
this is actually about historical records. So
Is this when records began?
not really. But no, we're talking about the kings of Persia. So this is when Persia was there's a weird word, Achaemenid Empire. I've only ever seen it written down. I don't know how it's said. The Achaemenid Empire, and the second king after Cyrus the Great was Cambyses the Second, and he carried on his father's legacy of conquering. So Cyrus conquered a lot of the Middle East, and then Cambyses expanded the empire along northern Africa. So he was the first Persian to become pharaoh of Egypt, which was fun. So yeah, but the fun thing is, as he went along, as he conquered towns and cities along the northern coast of Africa, he erected a monument in every city that he conquered. And if the story goes, if the city put up a good fight and fought them well, he would erect a
Penis.
a penis in the city. He would erect a penis in the city, and if they fought poorly and or give up or surrendered very quickly without much of a fight, he would erect a big vagina in the middle of the city.
I've never heard of penis or vagina statues in such a way, so I'm gonna go false.
I'm going to say true.
Well,
Because penises are seen as obviously a fertility symbol.
yeah, a symbol of manliness.
Well, these are the people who jacked off in the Nile for the
Yeah,
Actually,
remember that story.
I'm actually just thinking about it. It might change to true.
In Tokyo to this day have a penis festival, so
Believe it or not, there are none left standing at the moment. Because I think for some reason people didn't like the idea of a massive penis in the middle of their city. So most of them were either recarved or recycled or just thrown away.
Especially after these countries became Islamified as
Exactly,
well.
yes, which is has some conservative views about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is one There is one that does survive. It's not in its original place. It's in the museum, the History Museum in Tunis, which is in Tunisia. But apparently this monument came from Cyrene, so it's one of the cities is kind of like north. I guess in modern maps it would be northwest Egypt. Would be where Cyrene is. Apparently it came from there. It was found in some guy's pantry.
How did you find this? Did you type in penis into Google?
I did not type penis into Google. Who crazy person does that? Just you just look through ancient kings as you do. I wanted to find something about a conqueror, and this one seemed pretty good. I was looking at a lot of ancient Egypt, and this guy, like I said, he was the first Persian pharaoh, so that kind of led me to him.
Sculpting an erect penis seems pretty easy, but like, what the vagina, is that just a stone with a bit of a curve sculpted down the middle?
Well, like I said, the only surviving example is the penis one. There's no surviving examples of a vagina.
Do you think it's also that it's harder to sculpt a flaccid penis than an erect one?
Well, okay. Well, I've got I can tell you what it looks like. So it basically looks a bit like a tombstone.
See, right? I just imagine like a cylinder with two balls at the bottom.
That's exactly what it looks like.
It's like a tombstone. It's flat like a tombstone, but it's got a clear kind of bell shape at the top, and kind of on the main body of it, it's got carvings of conquest. So it's like soldiers, and it's got a picture of the guy himself, Cambyses, pointing a finger with all the soldiers around him as he goes.
Right. So the true or false is, did a pharaoh who conquered people if they fought well, did he erect the shaft, or did he call them a pussy?
Yes.
I've never heard of that, so I want to say false. But then these people did ejaculate into the river for fertility. Good, true, might as well.
You can say true?
Yeah.
You're going to say?
True.
Well, guys, I can say that this is false.
Fuck off.
This is actually a story from Herodotus. Herodotus wrote about an Egyptian pharaoh who did this, but there is no evidence that pharaoh even existed. And any of these monuments were ever put up.
Was there ever a ruler that ever did this though? Erected penis in villages that he conquered?
No, that's silly. Why would you do that?
I thought that was the thing. I thought someone did that. Oh well.
No, it was.
Yes, I would like to go back to my original answer.
It's kind of like it's just a legend that Herodotus wrote about. But it was about an ancient king that didn't exist. So
Herodotus?
Yes, Herodotus.
We like to put up rods.
Yes.
Did you mention what the pharaoh's name was?
Oh, his Cambyses the second.
Oh.
It was Persian king.
Persian.
And on that
And on that cheery note.
on that bell.
On that floppy wiener. Let's wrap it up. Sweet.
Till next time.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.